Okay, so it's my first recording for YouTube. I'm not really sure what I'm coming on to talk about today, to be honest with you. I've just had this creative block of some sort the last couple of days. And I thought, you know what, the best way to get over that is to just pull the camera out and to start recording. And it kind of made me think about all the stories that we tell ourselves, all of the things we tell ourselves to distract us from doing the things that we know we want to do or the things we need to do. And it made me think about why we tell ourselves these stories and how they keep us stuck in this cycle of self-sabotage and, hesitation towards our goals and the things in our lives. And it really got me thinking about how the mind and the body work together, or actually, in this sense, work against each other. Because your body gets you to act. But what we often find is through our experiences as children, we actually learn what is safe and what isn't safe. And we kind of then develop these beliefs about our abilities and the beliefs about what we can achieve and what we're worthy of achieving or worthy of having. And that then gets carried into our adult life. It gets carried into everything we do. And unconsciously, we use these stories to justify why our lives are a certain way, why we didn't do that thing, why we haven't started it yet. And a lot of these things are tied to certain memories that we've had, certain experiences that we've had, these childhood experiences that taught us to believe that we weren't enough or that we're too much. It's often an extreme, and therefore we grow up feeling like we are not worthy within ourselves. We don't love ourselves. And that manifests in how we then go out and interact with the world and interact with other people. We go out seeking things, we go out looking for things to validate ourselves, to validate our self-worth. And we give all of our energy, all of our power away. And we allow other people's energy to affect us. We allow the words and the opinions of others to dictate the direction of our lives. And on the other end of the spectrum, we don't fully show up in the world. We don't put ourselves out there in the ways that we know we can and the ways that we feel called to do so. Because, again, someone or something told us that we were too much and that we needed to dim our light to become digestible for other people. And this lack of self-worth and this suppression, this is what we then use as a way to create these narratives, to create these stories. And it's just crazy how these things run on autopilot. They just control everything in our lives. And we have no idea most of the time that this is what's happening. And I know for me personally, I've done a lot of work over the years to understand what stories I tell myself, understand what I'm tying my worth to and what parts of me I'm hiding from the world that are actually gifts that I should embrace. And I got to a point this year where I finally felt whole within myself. I finally felt like I could see myself and embrace every part of myself. But there does become a time, there's this transition period. And it's kind of like you're floating between two realities. You're floating between this old version of yourself, these old stories, and this new timeline, this new version of yourself. Because when we want to change these stories and change these narratives, we have to let go of everything that's led us to believe these stories in the first place. And it's quite scary. Like, it's quite a scary process, because there were points in, throughout my journey where I was unlearning a lot of this conditioning and the things that had led me to feel the way I did, and stopped me from being creative, being the creator that I am. And I had to let go of all the things that I identified myself with. And that was the scary part, because when you have to let go of these past identities or these things that you attach yourself to, it feels like you're losing yourself. It feels like you're losing who you are. When really these things were never who you were. These were just labels. They were just things that we tied ourselves to, and we told ourselves these things for so long. I'm this thing, I'm that. And then it became our truth. And it becomes the truth that we live out through these stories. So by letting go of these attachments, these labels, it's like a threat. Like I said, it's like a threat to our identity. And that's the scariest thing, because it makes you feel like, well, what's left if I get rid of these things? Who am I? Who am I going to be? And that's what keeps most people stuck, because the pain of changing, of letting go of these things, is so much greater than it is to just stay where we are. You see, our nervous system wants to keep us safe. It's our primal nature to seek safety. But unfortunately, the brain has learned over time what it means to feel safe. Therefore, by letting go of these attachments, the things that I had tied myself to, it was a huge threat to my safety. It's like a perceived fear of loss rather than an actual loss. And it took me a long time to get myself around that and to understand that a lot of these things that I was carrying around were not mine. That little voice in my head that kept talking away and kept telling me to stop doing things or to not even start doing things, it wasn't my voice. It was the voice of all of the people that had taught me how I should live my life, how I should be, what's okay and what's not okay, what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong. And it felt so good to get to a point where I no longer cared what anyone thought about me. I no longer cared about these stories that I once held on to. And the biggest thing that allowed me to let go of these was forgiveness. It was forgiving everyone that I had blamed for what they did to me and what they did in my life. It doesn't mean I had to accept it, I had to like it, but I had to forgive them. Because it was through forgiveness that I was able to cut ties with all of these memories that were holding me down, that were dragging me down and making it so heavy to walk through life and to see clearly what it was that I'm here to do on this earth. And through forgiveness of them, I was able to forgive myself. And forgive myself for all the things that I put myself through. You see, a lot of these things that happened to us, they weren't our fault. They weren't things that we were in control of. But as an adult, as a fully grown person, they become our responsibility to deal with. And yes, it is painful, but we have a choice. We always have a choice. We either choose to stay how we are, or we choose to change. And nobody else is going to come and make that decision for us. So if you're watching this video, if this video has found you, then I trust that it was meant to find you at this time. And I trust that there's something in this message that resonates with you. And all I want to say is do not give up. Do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on your dreams. Because they are waiting for you. They are waiting for you on the other side of that choice, of that decision to change.